What's up, YouTube? It's your boy Jake the Savage here, back again with the Twitch Amigos podcast. We got the man, the myth, the legend, the voice of EA Sports Competitive, Nick Mizesko. Nick, introduce yourself. Who are you in the Twitch community, and who are you? There's a
I'm Nick. I kind of hate it. I do stuff.
Yeah.
But a lot of it's with EA. So if you watch any competitive or you've watched CFP Rundown, any of the
multiple shows. I've been on all of them. So,
hi.
Hi, Nick. How we doing tonight, man? Seriously, how's the night
Good,
going?
Man. It's good. I mean, I'm out in Phoenix right now, so it's only like 4:30. So we're still in the afternoon.
Nice. It's 6:30 in the Eastern here.
Yeah.
So my first question is, when did you get the idea to like do play-by-play? Like, what was your like general way of doing it? Like, who helped you throughout your ways?
Yeah, I mean, I was always interested in it. Growing up, watching a lot of football, I fell in love with broadcasters and loved what they did. So it was always something I wanted to do. And then when I was in college, I was in a different major other than broadcasting. My parents didn't want me to be a broadcasting major, so I was doing other stuff. And then but I still wanted to do it, so I ended up joining a Madden franchise league that was doing streams, and they were nice enough to let me hop on and hone my craft and be a broadcaster just as a hobby. And I did that for like 5 years, and
Nice.
that was probably like the biggest thing for me was being able to do that. I mean, we did over 4 years, over 300 broadcasts. So like it was just a lot of reps, and that was kind of the biggest thing. So that was when it went from like, oh, this would be really cool to like, oh, I'm like actually doing it.
Yeah, 100%. I go to a school where they study broadcasting. I'm a sports communications major here where I am at Rowan University. I don't know if you've seen my streams. I've seen your streams all the time. They look great. Well, with your professional setup, I can see that. You want to describe what you got in your background besides the Ohio State hat?
A lot of helmets.
Yeah, who's your favorite in the bunch that you got?
I mean, as a Southern Ohio State guy, that's Zeke Elliott signed. It's called a cracked helmet because it is both Cowboys and Ohio State.
That's pretty cool.
So,
that's pretty cool.
That's pretty cool. I got a Derrick Henry. I got two Derrick. Yeah, this one. I like this one.
this is Jay Herbo.
With a custom Justin Herbert face mask.
That's actually pretty sick. Did he give you that, or how'd you get that?
I've collected them for a while.
Wow, that's pretty cool.
By trading people and entering raffles and stuff like that.
Oh yeah. So I can see by the hat you're an Ohio State native. Did you go to Ohio State?
No, I went to Michigan State actually. I grew up in Columbus though. So
Interesting.
I grew up my entire childhood was watching Ohio State. And when I went to school, I went to Michigan State to I just wanted to go Ohio State. I wanted to get away from my hometown and go somewhere else. And still rooted for Ohio State there, and they were not a big fan of that.
100%.
But, you know, what can you do?
Yeah, well. So what inspired you, well, you said about the franchise thing. What inspired you to be on, like, EA's competitive thing? Like, the MCS, all that?
Nothing inspired me. Honestly, like, I've always been a franchise guy.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't even know about the competitive until... in 2019, they held a contest called the Shoutcaster Showdown, where they were looking for. They picked 3 winners to go out to San Francisco and call a competitive Madden game.
Interesting.
And at that time, like I had done enough stuff where I knew a lot of guys at EA. I'd go to EA Play every year. They knew who our league was. They've heard me before, and they were like, "Yeah, you should like enter this." And I did. I was one of the 3 that got sent out there. But I learned on the fly. Like I that was the first time I'd ever watched a competitive Madden game was when I was in San Francisco that weekend.
Nice.
And so that's kind of. I mean, I have since learned. I mean, I love competitive Madden. I love. I mean, both the community and the nuances of the game. But I definitely had to learn on the fly because I did not have any experience with it going in.
100%. What would be your favorite call that you've ever called on, like for EA, like with the Henry winning the belts to probably where you started?
I mean, my favorite game I've ever called was I got to call like I think it might only be one. One game with RG, and it was back at the Madden 19 Bowl, and it was Skimbo versus Spoto. That game was electric because Spoto was just talking mad trash to the three-time belt winner. And then Skimbo, in a rare moment of him actually talking trash, came right back at him. And to get to do that with RG, who brings so much energy to the booth, that was easily my favorite game of all.
Interesting. So who would be like your personal connection to like the MCS? Like who would you say like not with this previous MCS happening, like the one that's coming up for the Zero Chill? Like who do you think's gonna go all the way? I'm just curious, in your opinion.
It's so tough because the qualifying has gotten so difficult. With single elimination, like there's no room for mistakes. Like you in the past, you'd have double elim, so you could lose a game and still bounce back and fight through the losers bracket. But it's so I don't want to say random. It's just tough because and I said on the broadcast for the Unstoppable Challenge, this is as deep as competitive Madden has ever been. I think you can make a list of 50 people that I would not be at some level of not surprised at all to mildly surprised, but not like it's not out of the realm possibility they could win a belt. If I had to pick, that's a tough call. I still think Fancy is playing unbelievably right now. I've watched him a lot. He is on top of his stuff. I do wonder if Henry can make a bounce back. You get knocked out early in the tournament. Not what he wanted to do. If that gives him a little fire this weekend and over the next couple weekends, and he gets there and can win the belt, I'm never going to count out Henry. If you want somebody off the radar, it's not really off the radar anymore because he won a belt, but Lambo plays the game more than
anybody. It's crazy.
Could definitely go back to back. We already saw Fancy go back to back, and if there's somebody who certainly has as much experience as anybody playing this game, it's somebody like that.
So, with the top 50 right now that we see in the ladders, who do you think will advance? Like with the young Vose that was in the previous MCS, do you think he's going to go back to being on the live event, or do you think he's just going to stay where he is? I'm just curious of all the young guns.
I think he absolutely can make it. He's been close so many times. He's had like 2 or 3 winning it into the last couple of years. This is not like Vose like fluked his way to the live. He has been close. He has competed hard. And I think being a streamer provides a little bit of an advantage on the mental side of you're not worried about people seeing your stuff. Like everybody has seen it, so there's some level of freedom there. It is harder from a strategic level, but from a mental level, it's easier. So
100%.
No, I told Rose after the tournament, it's not gonna be the last time. So
okay.
He is close to lock for Madden Bowl. He's not there. But if he makes a good run at Zero Chill into day 2, he'll make Madden.
Cool. Let me see if I can find a question. What would you be doing right now if you weren't calling the MCS? Like, would you be doing like other stuff for like the college thing that you've been doing with Fendler, or would you be doing like other stuff?
I'm doing that right now. So like, if you say what do I do other than the MCS?
Yes.
It'd be college football. If it was what would I doing if I wasn't with EA and I wasn't a broadcaster?
Correct.
I've done a lot of stuff. But I would be a teacher. I was an education major in college for a while until I got into Madden. But my wife's a teacher.
Nice.
So I'd be a teacher. But I've done a lot of stuff. I've done stand-up comedy. I've done mortgage banking. I've done
You've done it all.
I didn't know what I wanted to do.
Valid. So why? Okay, this is in honor of my guy Dev Dog. He's a Steelers fan. Shout out Dev. He asked me, why do you sound just like Gus Johnson? Do you get that a lot?
Yeah, well, because I think, I grew up with Gus Johnson. Like, I grew up with him. So he's certainly one of the guys that growing up I loved. And the reason why I liked him, listen, do I think guys like Al Michaels was great? Yes, absolutely. There are a lot of guys who are kind of like that. That old school, the Vin Scully, soft-spoken, like, more levity than anything. But I am a guy who watched wrestling. And in wrestling, they were never afraid to have the commentators go crazy. And I think there's some level of like, while you can't be over the top for everything, I think there was a level of watching Gus Johnson that was like, somebody hits a buzzer beater and he goes crazy because I'm going crazy. Like, that's really cool. And I think that's, something we don't see too often. And I get it. And I get it's also a stylistic choice that, like, there's a lot of people that don't like it. And let me just be clear. I don't think Gus Johnson is very good right now. I love Gus Johnson. Him and Joel Klatt are maybe my least favorite commentators right now. I hate Big Noon Kickoff. Watching Ohio State games with him makes me sad inside, but back in the day when he was calling NCAA tournament games, and it was elite. And that's why I like him, and why I like doing what I do, which is, listen, if there's a big play, I think we should make it a big play. It's not, and a touchdown from 92 yards. Like, okay,
Yeah.
I can do that anyway.
Who would be your favorite NFL commentator now? Like with the Joe Bucks, with Tom Brady being on Fox, who would you say you like watching?
Sorry.
Oh yeah, well I know you don't like Tom Brady.
Favorite commentators in the NFL. To me, it's Kevin Harlan is the peak commentator. Both basketball, football, he does everything. I think in 20 years we're going to look at Kevin Harlan like we look at Jim Nantz right now, which is Jim Nantz did, golf and did basketball and all that. I think that's what Kevin Harlan is going to do. We've seen him on NBA games. We've seen him do NFL. I think he's really, really good. He is one of my favorites. Underrated is Iron Eagle. I think Iron Eagle's really, really good.
Interesting.
I will defend it. I do not get the Joe Buck hate. I think Joe Buck is fine.
Interesting.
I don't think he's great. He's not my favorite in the world. He's fine. I think he has some really good calls in the past, and that's kind of how I judge commentators. Is like, do you have like a call that I can pick in my mind? And for him, like, I always think of the Minneapolis Miracle. He does a good job of that. I don't like Aikman, but I like Joe Buck a lot.
Interesting. Why do you have well, I know you're a Michigan State guy. Do you think Brady right now is doing a great job commentating on Fox?
No.
Why is that? I'm just curious.
He has the personality of wallpaper.
Okay.
He was gifted a job. I mean, that's it. And again, I don't begrudge anybody for getting their bag. But I get salty when so he took the job from Greg Olson. He did. Greg Olson worked his little butt off to become a good commentator. He grinded away. He got elevated to the #1 team when he got really, really good. And then Tommy retires and Fox goes, well, we'll just give you a bunch of money and you're going to take Greg's job. And see ya, Greg. And I don't like that. That's very nepotistic. And, I get it. It's Tom Brady. Put him on the desk at, on the pregame show. If you want to do that, fine. I feel like that's very nepotistic roles where it's just, names are on there. Who cares? But I don't like that he's never done it before, and when you listen to him, it sounds like he hasn't done it before, and it's very boring.
I understand.
That's purely from a skill perspective.
I got you. So, since you're a Browns fan, who would be your favorite all-time player or current? Who do you like on the Browns, current?
Browns?
Yeah, on the Browns. I know you're a Browns fan.
I'm a Nick Chubb guy. I love Nick Chubb. Denzel Ward, because he's an Ohio State guy and he went to Cleveland, is my current favorite player on the team. Favorite player of all time is probably the first player who really liked watching the Browns as a guy by the name of Dennis North. The wide receiver for the Browns back in the early 2000s when they first came back. And he was kind of like the first player that when they came back, because when I was growing up in the 90s, we didn't have Browns football. They left in, once I started watching football, there was no Browns football. All you could watch was the Bengals.
Interesting.
And the Bengals in the late 90s was Achilles Smith and Keyshawn Carter. It wasn't a good team. But when they came back, Dennis North was on some of those first teams that got there right after, the year after Couch was drafted, and was there for a long time, 6 years, which is a long time for a receiver to be in one place. So
Interesting.
Yeah, he was kind of like the first guy I really liked.
So, okay, now we're going to go into college football. Who do you got for the Heisman? I know you're an Ohio State guy. Who do you got winning? I'm just curious, out of your biased, curious opinion.
Who I want to win is Jackson Genty, who's going to win his Heisman.
Interesting.
And I have no qualms with it. He's doing something that nobody does right now, which is playing both sides of the ball. I don't particularly care about his snap count. Stop putting out stats for a snap count. I don't care. If that was the case, then Brett Favre is the greatest quarterback of all time because he just played the most. I don't care. But he's electric. He's just electric. Whether you like or don't like Colorado, whether you like or don't like Deion, whether you like or don't like the program, he is the best player.
Interesting.
I mean, again, there's still time.
Yeah.
Like, Ashton Genty goes off. He goes off. But, like,
Yeah.
Ashton Genty's also... Boise State hasn't looked right for the last couple of weeks. Last week, he
Yeah.
finally got back on track. He had 3 touchdowns last week, which is cool. But, like, he's always going to be hurt by playing a weak schedule. And he's going to get hurt by having 3 weeks in the middle where he got his arm busted up against UNLV. And just didn't quite look the same. He looked pretty pedestrian. I mean, for a guy who's running for 120 yards and a touchdown in 2 games, like, that's cool. But, like, it's not Heisman numbers.
Yeah.
And that's why, I mean, like, Connor is just...
Interesting. So how do you feel about Cam Ward? Everybody's saying that he might win the Heisman. Do you think he'll have a chance if he beats Wake Forest this week?
No.
And why is that? I'm just curious. Since I'm a Miami guy and you're Ohio State.
He's cool. I like Cam Ward. I wanted Ohio State to sign Cam Ward. Will Howard's not my first choice for Ohio State.
Interesting.
But here's the answer. Miami has been... I mean, let's start with Travis Hunter gets the benefit of, A, being in a high-profile program with Deion Sanders, touting his case every year, every week. And he just, I mean, again, he just does... He's playing both sides of the ball. It's usually a quarterback award, but he plays both sides of the ball, and that's really good. Miami is good, but right now the problem is they are going to have in their head, y'all lost to Georgia Tech and they threw the ball 4 times.
Yeah.
Cam, how good are you? And I think Cam Ward is great. I think Cam Ward, if I had to rank the quarterbacks coming out next year to be drafted, Cam Ward is who I would want. I really like Cam Ward, even though he's like a gunslinger. Like, he reminds me kind of how Josh Allen was in college, which is just
Interesting.
yeet that ball. But the problem is, who's your signature win?
For Miami?
Yeah, who?
I mean,
Louisville on the road?
Louisville, yeah.
I mean, but let's be clear. It was a 4-week stretch there where it was like 2-point win, 4-point win, 2-point win. Like, I think Cam Ward is really good, and I think Cam Ward will be in New York. But
Interesting.
This is between Hunter and Genty.
Yeah.
Until, like, now again, he goes out and, again, there's 2 weeks is a long time.
Yeah.
Like, it just is. You know, if he goes out, I mean, the problem is, like, you're not going to get any points. Like, if he goes out and throws 5 touchdowns, everyone's going to go. But it was Wake Forest. Like,
true. The ACC this year is interesting.
But he'll be there. He'll be there in New York.
You think he's going to go to the Giants, Cam Ward? You think he's going to get drafted? Where do you think Cam Ward will get drafted to? Everybody's saying he can go to your Browns, he can go to New York.
Oh, God. You're asking me to predict the finish? I mean, okay.
Well, I want your NFL draft speculation for not. Well,
I mean, the problem is, who's going to pick one? I don't know.
Yeah, we don't know yet.
I think number 1 is going to, and again, so much depends on what Deion does with Shedeur. If he is interfering and making sure he doesn't go certain places, then he's not going to go certain places.
Yeah.
You could see him a lot. You could see him in Cleveland. You could see him in New York. You could see him in Carolina. I mean, they're trying to believe in Bryce Young, and he's coming in and won a game, but if he finished with 2 wins and they're in the top 3, he could certainly go there. You could see him certainly in Las Vegas. The Raiders don't have a quarterback; they have Flossman Jetson. You could see him in Tennessee. Like, there's a lot of possible.
Yeah.
This is.
New England, you can see him.
If you're hoping to go to a good team this year, I got that in half the NFL bad. So.
Yeah. With the current NFL season, how do you feel about, like, everything changing? Like, with the Lions being first in their division, with the Browns overcoming some victories and losses. How do you feel about this current NFL season? I'm just curious, in your honest opinion.
I don't think there's a great team. I think there's a lot of good teams. I don't think there's a great team.
Mm-hmm.
I think the closest thing you have to great is Detroit. The thing I worry about Detroit is they've had the injury bug hit them pretty hard over the last couple weeks. They just lost Alex Anzalone for a while with broken arm.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't think there's a great team, and there's a lot of very bad teams. I mean, you've got, 2-win teams? Like,
Yeah.
It's not great. It'll be interesting to see who can separate themselves. I think the Lions are the clear favorite in the NFC. I think the NFC is a much more murky water. I also think it is wild to watch Joe Burrow do what Joe Burrow does because he's out there just trying to will his team victory. And that defense I legitimately believe that defense might be the worst defense I've ever seen in the NFL.
The Bengals.
It's horrible.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's horrible. It's horrible. Joe Burrow's out there throwing 4 a game and 4 touchdowns, and they cannot win because that defense cannot stop a nosebleed.
Yeah, well, with this, what is this week 13 coming up? Who do you got against the Steelers this week? I know you guys are playing on Thursday Night Football. You think the Browns are gonna win, or you think
beat the brakes off them?
You think you guys are beating?
This is one of the worst teams I've ever seen.
Interesting.
And not from a talent level, from a scheming level, from a coaching level, from a good person level at the quarterback position. Half the team's dead. The offensive line is dead. Dewan Jones is out for the year. Jack Conklin's hurt. Like, nobody can play. Like, I don't. It's just, okay. Good luck.
Good luck.
I mean, the Steelers just are better.
Well.
Congrats to Russ Wilson.
Yeah, well, I agree.
Browns fan, I'm just not.
Yeah. Yeah. I've seen it. 100%. I've seen all my Browns fans. Shout out Chuflaka. He's kind of under the weather about his current Browns. I don't know how you feel on Twitter about complaining about that. About everybody seeing like that Denzel Ward is, I don't know. There's a lot of Browns things that I've seen on Twitter. I don't know. Yeah. What do you think the Browns should do in the offseason? Like, who do you think they should pick up?
A real owner, a real GM, and send Deshaun Watson on vacation.
Send Watson on vacation. Wait,
what the hell do you want? Like,
that's good.
So many problems, dude.
Yeah,
they
I bet.
got so many problems, and it starts with they have a GM who I think is actually a functional moron, and an owner who is an actually corrupt individual. They need a quarterback. Problem is, you've got a $74 million weight hanging around your ankles. Good luck.
Yeah.
I think Nick Chubb will be gone this year. They don't have. I mean, if you think that the wide receiver room is set with Jerry Jeudy as your number one wide receiver, I have a bridge to sell you. They've got so many problems. Their D-line.
Yeah.
Myles Garrett is perpetually hurt. He's playing with like 2 broken feet or something.
Jesus.
Denzel Ward's had 5 concussions. Like, there's so many problems. Like,
Yeah.
One of the things they should do, move to Baltimore again. I don't care anymore.
Wait, I didn't know they played originally in Baltimore. That's interesting.
No, they moved there in 96. That's why we didn't have Browns football in Cleveland, is because Art Modell moved the Browns to Baltimore.
Interesting.
And they became the Baltimore Ravens in 2000.
Interesting. So,
98.
this might be a question for the two of us. For me, specifically, being a sports communications major, do you have any advice for people who want to get into play-by-play, wanting to do something after university to pursue with play-by-play? Since you do it full-time for EA Sports and all that.
So I went a different route. I mean, I didn't have the major. So I mean, in theory, somebody who majored in this and has done the work in college could go get a job doing it. And you're going to start off doing, Division III football or something. Or
Yeah, it's Division III here, so.
Yeah, I mean, the short answer is, how do you get better? I mean, I'm not going to give career advice because I don't have a good answer of, like, how do I get a job? I don't know. I won a contest and have been here for like 5 years. Like, I'm the unicorn. I've done it in a different way.
Yeah.
But if you want to ask how to get better at it, just
yes.
do it. Like, I would sit at home and watch baseball games with the TV unit and record myself calling the game.
Interesting.
Just do it and then listen back and see what you pick up. I also listen to as many commentators as you can because there's different styles and different things, and you can pick up stuff and find out what works for you. But I don't emulate. Like, I think, people always say, like, you sound like Gus Johnson. I'm me. Like, I'm not trying to be Gus Johnson, but we're stylistically similar. The number one thing I hear people do is, like, try to, like, copy. I'm going to call this game, like, Jim Nantz. Please don't. Like, just be you. Call the game. But I cannot preach enough. Just do it. Do it a lot. Do it whether it's... And I think there's value to doing it in front of an audience. Like, if you can boot up a stream and put on a simulated game, or if you can, if you've got if you're like a Madden franchise and you know that the game's going on, like, ask them if it's okay if you can restream it and call it and do it in front of people, because more than anything, the ways I've gotten better is, like, just getting feedback, whether it's from fellow commentators, whether it's from people in chat being like, dude, this guy sucks, he's too loud. Okay, let me Let me try to tweak that a little bit, but I'm not going to change who I am. I think that's but more than anything, perhaps.
100%. 100%. Do you have any questions for me, Nick? I can't think of any questions for you. If you got anything for me about anything about my life, it could be about university, it could be about sports, anything. I don't know. I don't know if you got anything.
You believe it was past interference in 2002 when Ohio State beat Miami in double overtime in the national championship game? Like, we can all agree it was past interference, right?
I was born in 2002. Ask my dad.
Okay, so I'm going to go play in traffic. I have no questions for you. I hate this world. You're young and leave me alone.
Go Canes.